What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video here. Today we got a full game review here for Warhammer 40K Boltgun, a kind of retro arcade style hack and slash shooter set in the Warhammer 40K universe, obviously, with you as a space marine. So yeah, Warhammer 40K Boltgun, very interesting game. It's a game I've had a lot of fun with, and let's just get right into it here. So basically, as you can kind of see, it's kind of got this like arcadey, kind of grainy, old school style, retro video game feel to it, and that's very intentional. They made the game that way, obviously. So yeah, it immediately, and what everyone thinks of is what I thought of when you play this game and you see this game, you immediately drawn back to obviously where you should be in kind of the early days of the retro Doom and Quake games. And yeah, that's kind of a heavy inspiration, obviously. Obviously, three, different franchises there, different universes there. But yeah, that's kind of the style of the game overall, obviously. And yeah, it's very retro in play, as you can see by the graphics here, even having not even gotten into the game. You've got your four difficulties, which are, I want to say standard, but you got your low, medium, hard, and then everyone's got their, deathly, like, incredibly hard game mode, various franchises. This would be an Exterminatus, being in the 40K universe, making sense there. That's actually what I did in my first playthrough as, and, yeah, we'll touch on that later as far as the level difficulties, but, yeah, these are the four ones you can do here. As far as the level difficulties go, I have never played on low, medium, or hard. I've only played Exterminatus, so I can't say how easy or difficult each of those is in comparison. But I will tell you Exterminatus from my experience playing there, and I'll show you some base level gameplay of Exterminatus here in a minute. It's that's kind of one of the knocks to the game is it leaves little to be desired, especially in comparison to similar type of games like a Doom or a Quake franchise. As far as difficulty goes, it's not particularly easy, I guess you could say, especially on Exterminatus. But it's not like having played Doom Eternal. Hell, that might even be in a video in the future. I know the game's a little older, so might have to figure out what I want to do with that. But having played Doom Eternal on a couple of different difficulties, not just the hardest, you can definitely tell this is an easier game. This isn't particularly very well matched up as far as terms of difficulty goes. But then again, if you go back and play like maybe, Doom or Quake, like the originals, I feel like it's, for a retro game, I feel like it's somewhat comparable, and it's like if you took those games and updated them like with the mechanics and the systems that they were able to use and put it here and into the 40K universe, obviously. That's kind of what you got here. So it's easy to play, but it's not necessarily difficulty-wise any harder or easier. So it's pretty comparable to that, I'd say. But yeah, as far as the difficulties go, it's kind of a minor gripe, but you still get, your very simple and straightforward kind of difficulty levels here. And then, yeah, you get your abilities here. Then you get your little challenge or your little notes here for each difficulty, which is always cool, which you might understand if you're a 40K fan, or you might not. Either way, the hard, it's pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, that's one minor gripe with the game. Another minor gripe, which load into a cutscene here, I might as well talk about now. And that's a game. This is kind of a minor gripe I have with every type of game like this. Is the fact that I forgot I had turned captions off, so you can't even see any of this. But either way, to basically talking about at this point in the story, what world you're on, what you're doing there as your Space Marine, or you're supposed to be Space Marine, kind of like not chapter but squad, and that's going to drop on. But you're going to discover most of them are dead in a second. But I'm not trying to give too many spoilers there. Cultist, evil stuff. You're the Imperium. You're coming to purge. Etc. Etc. As Space Marines often do. So yeah, that kind of leads into the segment I was wanting to talk about here at the story. It's kind of a minor gripe I have of every one of these type of games is The story is bare bones. It's kind of basic, which, depending on what you're looking for, is either bad or a good thing. It's not a bad story necessarily. It's fairly straightforward and interesting. It's a bit basic, but it's it does its job to give you some reason or explanation as to what the hell's going on, as every story should. But you're not getting a Witcher tier or Skyrim tier story or something if you're looking for that in this game or any of the comparable games I've mentioned as of yet, obviously. But that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing. Um, you never play these type of games for the stories. I never played Quake for the story. I never played Doom for the story, even though they have one. It's like it's an added bonus if anything that it has a story at all. Honestly, not even a gripe or like a negative like mark on the game's review. Uh, you don't play these games for stories. You play these games to have some almost mindless fun. Like it's you drop in as your badass character, whether it's a Doom guy, whether it's an Ultramarine here, as you can see it literally happen right now. You drop in, you get ready, you get some weapons, you get some armor, and you kick ass. Like whether it's demons, whether it's chaos cultists, and traitors to the Empire, to the Imperium. I mean, you kind of just run through, kill, kick ass, kill them in gory ways, over the top action and violence. I mean, that's what you're playing this game for. At the end of the day. As you can see here, we're loading into the gameplay. So yeah, it's still got that arcadey, like old school feel, but you can tell it's like a modern reminiscence of that, and it's not like an old school game because I mean, first of all, the full screen's being used, which isn't always the case when you play some of those games nowadays, anyways. But yeah, it's just in general a better feel here. And you've got your standard stuff. You've got your health right here. You've got your enemies here. These are your basic enemies. And you got your kill animations. This is your kind of base melee weapon. The chain sword is what you get right off the bat, and obviously Boltgun coming pretty soon after, as the name hints at, obviously. And yeah, it's obviously it fits the 40K universe well. It does it justice. It looks like a cool little city here on this world. Obviously, you don't get to see the entire world, but it is what it is. And yeah, you get the kick ass as a space marine. I mean, these games they're never meant to be anything over, not over the top, but like more than they are, I guess you could say. They're mindless fun. You go through, you use your chain sword, and you tear apart some like traitor right here, and split his body in half, and all you've left with is a giant pile of red and mush and a couple off limbs that are still remaining from the carnage. His fucking head over here. And it does that incredibly well. It does that very well. As far as the combat, since I'm in combat right now, I guess it's not a bad time to talk about, obviously. But that is kind of because this is the most important part of the game is the combat by far. The combat is definitely the most important part. Oh yeah, okay, I forgot about this. The combat is definitely the most important part of the game, given the fact that it's mainly based around extra. I'm really struggling with this. Jesus, it's embarrassing. But yeah, the combat is great in this game for the most part, and what I mean by the most part is the combat plays well. It's really cool to see the animations and everything here, obviously. It's got all the gore and violence you could ever want here. The blood splattered on the wall, and this guy's a fucking body, pixelated body, shattered there with his, defeated self, thinking he could ever take on a Space Marine for some reason alone. Which, if you know the 40K universe, you know what Space Marines are and why that could never happen. But if you don't, it might have went over your head. But either way, the combat is great. The one minor gripe you'd have with it is it can get a bit repetitive. Well, obviously, the Boltgun, the main thing of the series here, right? You unlock it very early on, obviously, as you must. Fires, the mini tank shells, basically. The combat, the enemies get a bit towards the end of the game, and especially if you plan on doing further playthroughs with it, the combat can get a bit repetitive. And what I mean by repetitive is not that it's not fun, but the enemies and the AI tend to kind of be repetitive on their own. You realize kind of somewhat through the game that all these enemies, their attack styles seem to be basically the same from every time you encounter them. There's not a ton of variety in how you get attacked, which can make it a little less challenging and exciting for someone who's looking for that type of challenge. And then just the amount of unit model or enemy models that there are, you run through kind of and see all that you're going to see as far as like the base model units, like your standard enemies. You run through all of them before, I'd say, I'm bad at this, but like, I'd say at least somewhere around a third or three-fourths of the game ish, somewhere in that, ballpark of the game. You kind of run through every model, like enemy unit that you're going to see, like base model enemies that you're going to see for that game. And the attack the attack styles are fairly similar every encounter to encounter, so it can get a bit repetitive. But also, this game isn't incredibly long. I'll tell you that this isn't a game you're playing for 1,000 hours. This isn't a game you're probably playing for 100 hours, or even really like 50 hours. Honestly, this is probably a game where you're playing somewhere from 0 to like 50 hours in. That's what the vast majority of people will play. Whether you complete your first playthrough and you like it, or whether you do multiple playthroughs, that varies obviously. That's why there's the range. But this isn't a game you're going to be playing for that long, so not that long. Obviously, those hours are meaningful. It's just like compared to other games, you're not putting thousands or hundreds of hours into it necessarily, unless you're really dedicated. I guess then you could. Nothing's stopping you, but it's like, you're not going to be playing the game too long to the point where it can get overly repetitive. Like, if this game took 100 hours to beat and it had the same attack and model variety that it had in this current game, then yeah, I could see how this would get very annoying. It'd be hard almost to complete just because it gets so boring doing the same thing over and over again for the base enemies that you're going to be fighting. But you're not playing the game long enough for it to really set in. And the mindless fun on its own is enough to distract you anyways. Like, we'll drop down as I'm talking about this onto this poor soul down here. Already into the thick of things. But yeah. You're not playing necessarily even that long enough to, like, really notice that. You really don't take too much note of it. You really just kind of have fun with it, like I'm doing now. You kind of just run through the levels, do them as fast as you can, as efficiently as you can, and just enjoy tearing these, goblins, or not these goblins, but these plebeians that thought they could ever have a chance fighting against you apart. Or obviously, as the enemies get more progressively difficult and complex later in stages, you enjoy that as well. But yeah, it's just mindless run and gun fun here, that you're kind of just tearing people apart and enjoying the blood splatter. I mean, it's a Doom game. You kind of shut your mind off, listen to the amazing soundtrack that, again, is another major positive for this that I didn't really mention, as you guys can't hear because I don't play the music. But yeah, you just kind of have fun with it. That's what these games are meant for. Mindless fun, running around, tearing apart, traitors, just like I did there. Thought he could do something. I mean, it's a great time if you're a fan of these type of games, these Doom style games, or a retro gamer fan. It's like, you're gonna love this game. If you're a fan of the 40K universe, you're gonna love this game. It's a lot of fun to play. It's a lot of mindless fun to play, but there's still enough depth here that you can really kind of enjoy kind of the sequence and the role playing almost, because it's because you're almost like experiencing living out a Space Marine's job, which is, as a 40K fan, something you're probably very very familiar with and want to do if you are a 40K fan. Obviously, that time runs are part of this, so I can do that a lot lower if I needed to. And yeah, the soundtrack, getting into that is amazing, and it really amplifies the entire experience. And it really is a game that you can just kind of shut your mind off, listen to the soundtrack, and tear people apart with, just like you can in Doom. It's mindless fun. It's got secrets. I didn't even bother doing that one, I guess, because I forgot what it was. And it's kind of got these levels you can do and see how fast you can get through them, and how hard of a difficulty, and if you can discover all the secrets in the game. So there's a lot to this game more than just that, and it does what it does very well. So yeah, I mean this is a great game. It's not a $60 game, and it doesn't try to be. It tries to be a retro arcade, Doom, Quake style hack and slash shoot 'em up, like first person shooter, and it does that, and it does it very well, and it does it in a very interesting and cool universe, in my opinion, at least. That being said, if you're not a huge fan of the 40K franchise, or you dislike it, this obviously probably isn't a game for you in the first place. You'd probably be better with a Quake or a Doom. But if you are, or if you've never played it, I highly suggest you look into it or give this game a try, and I think it'd be a lot of fun for you either way. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Warhammer 40K Boltgun. So it's time to wrap it up here with the game score and the buy recommendation. The buy recommendation: this is a strong buy. This isn't a must-have game. This isn't This is a must-have or like a very strong or like highly recommended game here. Because I understand if you dislike the 40K universe, this isn't necessarily a game that you'd probably be interested in. If you're not a fan of the kind of retro arcade art style or this type of hack and slash shoot 'em up type of Doom style game, this again might not be a game for you. But it is a very good game overall, and I think 40K fans, or just fans of the genre, or people looking to get into it as a whole, would be very, very happy with this game. Retro gamers would be. This is a strong buy. It's not that expensive, comparatively, especially to other games like a Doom Eternal. And it's a lot of fun, and it's almost relaxing, despite the blood and gore and the hardcore music the music that plays alongside it. So yeah, as far as the game score goes, moving on to that, from the 0 to 10 out of a rating. This isn't necessarily a 10 out of 10 game, but it is still a very good game. This is, I'd say, Warhammer 40K Boltgun earns a pretty solid 8.7 out of 10. It's got its drawbacks, and it's got its kind of niches, but what it does very well, and it's a very good and complete game. So yeah, I'd say it's an 8.7 out of 10, very solidly, with a strong recommended buy. And yeah, Warhammer 40K Boltgun, ladies and gentlemen, very interesting, very fun game there. Definitely worth kind of your consideration to picking up, especially if you feel those niches it kind of plays into. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that video, hope you guys enjoyed that review, and hope you guys enjoy Warhammer 40K Boltgun if you end up picking it up and playing. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you enjoy this video and the content of the channel as a whole. Everything helps out, including your viewership, which I am grateful for. And comment down below what you think of Warhammer 40K Boltgun, whether you think of picking it up or have already, or just anything you really want. And I'll see you guys in the upcoming videos. Take it easy.